I'm the kind of man who keeps a tight schedule: up at 5, at work by 7, home by 6, dinner by 8. My days are as steady as the ticking of a clock, and that's how I've always liked it. My wife, Monica, used to find my predictability comforting. She'd say she could count on me, that my reliability was one of the reasons she married me. But a few months ago, everything started to change. It began with the late-night phone calls. The first time, she brushed it off as a wrong number. Then came the nights out with her girlfriends, always conveniently lacking group photos or familiar locations. Our joint bank account showed charges at bars and restaurants on nights she claimed she was working late. At first, I ignored it. "You're paranoid," I told myself. But deep down, I knew better. A man doesn't go from the center of his wife's world to an afterthought overnight. She used to kiss me good morning; now, she barely grunted before disappearing into the bathroom. She used to fall asleep in my arms; now, she clutched her phone till 2 a.m., turning away if I so much as glanced in her direction. Her phone, once left lying around, was now always password protected, always within reach. I tried to push aside my suspicions. Who wants to admit their marriage is crumbling? But this wasn't a passing phase. It was systematic. It was deliberate. One evening, I got home early and found her in the kitchen, speaking in hushed tones. The moment she saw me, she ended the call abruptly, eyes darting like she was searching for an alibi. I confronted her, calmly, at first. "Can I talk to my friends without you hovering?" she snapped. A fair question, but her defensive edge set my blood boiling. Instead of clarifying, she made me feel like the guilty one for even asking. That's when I knew she was hiding something. So I started watching her more closely. I didn't want to be that guy, rummaging through his wife's things, but I wasn't about to be played for a fool. I checked phone bills, scanned credit card statements, even went through her purse when she was in the shower. Each discovery was like a shard of glass slicing through my pride. Friends told me to talk to her, try counseling, but I believed, still do, that honesty is the backbone of any relationship. If she was lying, why should I be the one bending over backward to understand her? Then came the proof. One Saturday, I told her I had to work a weekend shift. Instead, I parked around the block and waited. Sure enough, around 2 p.m., she stepped out, dressed a little too nicely for grocery shopping. I tailed her, heart pounding, telling myself I was crazy. But I wasn't. She drove across town to an upscale restaurant, not the kind of place we usually went. And waiting for her at the entrance? A man in a crisp button-down, beaming like he'd won the lottery. She greeted him with a hug. No, more than a hug. It lingered. The kind that says, "I've missed you." I snapped pictures from my car, capturing every damning detail: the way he opened the door for her, his hand at the small of her back. Later that night, she came home and fed me a lie about catching up with an old college friend named Karen. She even invented a whole backstory. That was it. The game was up. The next day, I ran his license plate through one of those shady online lookup sites. His name, Daniel Whitmore, a businessman. I found his LinkedIn, saw his picture. He looked like the type: money, confidence. Everything clicked. But I needed more before I confronted her. So I planted a small, voice-activated recorder in the living room. Every conversation was worse than the last. Sultry tones, references to last time and next time. By the following week, I had enough evidence to tear her life apart. The night I confronted her, I laid it all out on the coffee table: photos, printed call logs, transcripts. She stared at them, her face a mix of shock and indignation. "What is this?" she demanded, as if I were the villain for invading her privacy. I played a clip of her whispering into the phone about how she missed Daniel's touch. Her face drained of color. She lunged for the recorder. I pulled it away. "Don't," I said, voice low, steady. Silence stretched between us before she finally whispered, "I'm sorry. But not sorry for doing it, sorry for getting caught." Something in me snapped. "Get out," I said. My voice was ice. She looked up, panic flickering in her eyes. "What do you mean? This is my home too." "Not anymore." That night, I locked myself in the bedroom, ignoring her texts. Let her squirm. Let her wonder what I might do next. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. The next day, I hired a locksmith. Every door, every entry point, new locks. By evening, my house was mine again. I packed a duffel bag with her essentials, left it by the door. Then I waited. At 9:45 p.m., her headlights swept into the driveway. I watched through the peephole as she struggled with her keys, confusion morphing into panic. She knocked, then pounded. Let me in. I opened the door just a crack. I changed the locks. You don't live here anymore. Her face contorted with disbelief. You can't do this. This is illegal. I almost laughed. Go to Daniel. Let him put a roof over your head. She broke then, pleading, promising to end it. But I was past persuasion. Where was this talk when I asked you before? When you lied to my face? I pointed to the duffel bag at her feet. Take it. Get out. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she picked it up. For a moment, she lingered, like she thought I might change my mind. I didn't. I shut the door and locked it. For the first time in months, I felt free.